players in the field. And they're doing it because the big players aren't innovative, and they're not opening up their platform. Another trend, smart turf phones. Okay, so not necessarily the phones like your iPhone 4, but these are phones that sometimes are Android are idiot phones that we have here. That is, Android is good, but it's not quite like those really super expensive ones you find in Samsung Galaxy 2S. But the interesting thing that's happening is that the penetration of Android devices is really high for what it is. So of course it did happen with the IDEA Store. And you've seen Google really pushing it as well. These are the finalists, the 29 finalists for Google Developer Challenge. As you notice, 6 of them are from Kenya, the second most number of finalists, but there's 3 winners. 2 of them are from Kenya. Okay, so that's a pretty good ratio. Okay, so what do I actually think is going to be happening here? This is my opinion, and it's hard to be somebody who is a prophet on anything because I'll probably be proven wrong on this. But in after I think that we'll see an increase in Android handsets and mobile web usage, and a continued decrease in the cost of low-end smartphones and data connectivity. So that's what I see happening. And if I'm an entrepreneur, that's what I'm playing for. Okay, so how am I doing this time? So there's something that I like to call the innovation pyramid, and this has to do with success stories. So let me tell you about it. Of course, you saw the promo video from the Business 25 earlier this year, and it was very successful business. We had over 100 applicants for it, and these were from all over East Africa, from Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Kenya. Kenya is the largest share, of course. And but these guys are startups that they were just getting going. Out of there came 5 winners, and of those 5 winners, I think all of them are now members of the M-Lab. They're being incubated in the M-Lab, the mobile lab that John wants to stand up real quick. John is the M-Lab manager, so he runs everything there. But they're being incubated in his space, which is right underneath the iPhone. And so it's kind of like a mature facility to it. And what do these guys do? Well, this runs good in Russia. Med Africa is doing something in the health space. They just actually launched their product today. MTL does a thing called M-Shop. M-Shop is a ticketing system. Ulasibu does web and mobile web based accounting made for East African accounting support. Topo and AITEC both do a mobile payments aggregator system that works for small and medium-sized businesses. M-Farm works with agriculture, farmers, and buyers and sellers. And Wise does, you can see up here as well, does SMS, and they also have a new Simple Pay application. So, these are really interesting things. What are the trends? Here's a picture of Steve Mtinda, one of the founders of Med Africa. Here's another one. Here's one of our friends, Karanja Bhattaria. Now, what does he represent? Karanja actually represents, he's the CEO of one of the better positioned CRSPs in the market. Okay? These are the guys who are the middlemen between you and me and Safaricom and Airtel and you and all those other guys. So let's go back to class. So we have Tim that is just kind of at the bottom of our pyramid. He's the startup guy, right? And we have the next layer up, we have guys like Karanja. And above them we have a few success stories. This is your Safaricom, this is your, this could be also Kamal over there with Craft Silicon, or John with Virtual City. These guys are making it towards the top. At the same time, we have more guys making more grassroots level who are in universities coming up with crazy ideas. I like bringing this one in here because it's funny. This guy has Robert Blue, had his TV show. Okay? He's very upset about it. The university student. So he went back home and he created a 10-phase electronic security. So that's what you see there, and it can all be operated via your mobile phone from afar. One of the components of it is a 400-volt shock if you don't turn it off. 400 volts can kill you, right? This is a serious thing. So we have this innovation going on. on down here to the bottom. Again, like we saw with Stephen Simmons. And then another story, of course, you'll see John here at the next session if you're around. John's winning the $1 million investment from Nokia last year. He does actually, we should give him all a hand because he won again this year. So John won another prize. So, you know, we have these guys coming up. But this is what it's really about. We have success stories at the top and we have risky startups at the bottom. It's a very narrow pyramid. It's not wide enough. To make it wider, the only way to do that is to add more to the base. We need more risky startups. We need more money, seed capital, angel capital, going into these ideas and processes that might or might not work. The failure rate is actually higher than the success rate. If we don't have that, if we don't have that base, then we can never be the innovation center for Africa. Okay? That's all there is to it. It's that simple. So places like the iHub, places like the InLab, they exist for the sole purpose of being a vector for that type of activity. Because if we don't have that type of activity, nothing else about it matters. We're going to have an oligarchy of a very few successful startups that win big, and then everything else underneath it doesn't matter. And that's not good enough. We need to have a bigger ecosystem. Think of it much like a mall. If you have only one store in a mall, you don't want to go there. You need many stores. Even they can be competitive against each other. So inside the InLab, we have AITEC, which is MK, and Coco, which is also a mobile payment aggregator. Those two are actually competitors to each other, right? But it's actually okay to have them together. They can be frenemies inside, you know. They get along, but they know they're competitive with each other. But they also know that they have to exist. They have to coexist. The same thing with Kamal's work, the same thing with Pesapal and some of the other industries. The more we have, the better, because it makes us all better. And we should make sure that we don't have an island complex. Now, what's an island complex? An island complex is what I really came up with when I was visiting Madagascar. In Madagascar, anybody has like a hint of success, everybody else tries to drag them down. Okay? We don't have that same mentality here at the same level, but you see it from time to time. And we need to make sure that we don't do that. We need to make sure that we work with each other. If somebody's successful, let them be successful. In fact, give them the benefit of that. Make sure people know about it. Of course, it's hard to do that when it's your competitor. So if you're a competitor, I can understand you being bad right now. So there's a need for us to make sure that we're trying to build the whole ecosystem together. And InLab is only one small component of that. InLab, just so you know, there's incubation, there's training, we have a testing facility. There was an image earlier on that I'll go back to that'll show you. This, what you see back here, this is the InLab. Those phones right there is our testing facility. So if you have a mobile application that you want to test across any phone that we have, you can. We have 80 phones right now. We should have about 160 in the next couple months. These are being given to us by the different mobile manufacturers. And finally, we created what we call AfroLabs earlier this year. So this is the network of pods and labs across Africa, where the iHub is just one member of it. But they're coming up in different places. And in fact, I just heard about a new one today coming up in Tanzania. And what we're doing is we're creating a network and association with them so that first of all, they can learn from each other. But second of all, it's a bigger target for investors and media. Because one of the things that happens, and I'll give you an example of this, is you have investors coming through all the time. And they're looking for the next thing. They're looking to do sometimes seed-level investment of $20,000 to $30,000 to $100,000. Sometimes they come in with a $500,000 range to $3 million range. They're looking at all different sizes of companies. But where do they go? They don't know where to go when they parachute in. So they come to us by places like the iHub and we say, well, you talk so. So it's a good place to be connected into. We had, just to give you an example, I had 5 investors on Monday alone come through the iHub. 5 different investors, okay? To give you an idea of how many people come through looking for the next big thing. The world is beginning to hear the echo. They're starting to hear the resonation of what's going on in East Africa. And they know that Nairobi sits at the center of it. They know that the people who are building here have some of the most innovative ideas. The gap, I'll tell you the final gap, is for the technology entrepreneurs here to learn that it's not enough to build a company. You need to learn how to build a business. You need to learn how to take the technology ideas, put them together with somebody with business expertise, so that means partnering sometimes, in building a real successful business. If we can do that, the sky is the limit. So this is what I see as the future of Kenya and as the future of technology. I see technology, the last blue ocean is being here in Africa, and I see that the youth and the technology side of what we're doing here in East Africa, specifically Nairobi, is going to lead the way. Thank you very much.